Today, Homeworthy takes you inside 3 breathtaking homes nestled in the English countryside. In West Sussex, interior designer Anna Hewitson shares her hilltop house. The restoration took over 5 years, and it's now a light-filled family home shaped by thoughtful design.
I've got a plate of on the wall, so this is my little kind of south of France area, so to speak. And I've got some little bowls, this one here, which actually I made because I love doing ceramics, and I have a pottery wheel actually in the studio outside. So I make, when I have time, bowls and dishes and things. And this one here is actually, it's an old, I picked this up the other day, it's a really sweet jug. I think it's an old hot chocolate jug, a jug for hot chocolate. But I just thought it was a really gorgeous shape.
In Wiltshire, artist and designer Graham Carr shows us his gorgeous home, once a 19th century schoolhouse that's been transformed into a richly layered home filled with pieces from a lifetime of travel.
I love textiles, so I've got a collection of cushions here, which are all different nationalities and whatever. But these I'm rather proud of because I had a wonderful Japanese kimono that was in fragments really, but I bought it years and years ago, and I always loved the pattern and the colour. And I managed to get some yards made of the fabric, copying it almost exactly.
And in Hampshire, interior designer Lucy Cunningham welcomes us into her charming cottage, where bold pattern and family life bring warmth to every room.
We've got a little garden at the front here, which is lovely. You can watch the sunset. Lucy and Tom put in a peony and rose garden. So in the summer, when I'm here, in the evenings, I will sit with my glass of wine and look at the peonies and roses and watch the sun go down.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. And be sure to check out our new show with interior designer Martin Lawrence Bullard, streaming exclusively on Homeworthy Plus.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Anna Hewitson, and welcome to my home in West Sussex. Can't wait to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name's Anna Hewitson. I'm an interior designer, and welcome to my home in West Sussex. We moved here 5 years ago from London, and I was initially drawn to the location of the house. It's on top of a hill, which has got beautiful views of the South Downs, so it's a really, really lovely spot. It was in need of a bit of attention. It was a bit neglected, I would say, and every room needed some work. So we've gradually kind of worked our way around the house and done bits and pieces, and we're sort of almost there 5 years in, but yeah, we love it. Welcome to my kitchen. This is my favourite space in our house. I love it. And we've got the most amazing views. We're very lucky out of this window here. When we first moved into the house, the kitchen was actually quite neglected, and I said to my husband, if we're going to buy this house, I just have to do the kitchen, and that's going to be my first thing that I can do if we can justify it. The ceiling was actually originally really low, so we lifted the ceiling by going up into the bedroom above. And that gave me the opportunity to kind of make a feature of the ceiling by using this like reclaimed cladding, which I whitewashed. So it just makes it a bit more interesting than having a flat ceiling. And it was a completely different layout, so we've basically gutted it and started again. So before we had an old Aga that was in this little corner here, and no island unit. I am denied about putting an island unit in actually, because they used to have a nice kind of farmhouse table here, but it's so useful, and with kids we sit here a lot, and it's just another another space, another area for storage. And yeah, I worked with a great local joiner who built the kitchen for me. I designed it all myself, and I wanted it to feel quite timeless and also just quite like light. I didn't want too many wall cabinets. So what's great about the kitchen is I have this little tiny pantry in here, which is one of my favourite spaces. And that just means that I can have all my clutter in there. So all my food, our fridge is in there. And then that means that this can all feel a little bit lighter somehow. So obviously we've got 2 big windows and open shelving, so everything's like really easily accessible. But it means that the kitchen has this kind of sense of airiness and lightness to it, which is what I really love. And as I say, particularly because we lifted the ceilings, it just feels much kind of more voluminous than it used to. So, and I've got all sorts of little things that I've collected. We've got an antique piece here, which was gifted to us by my husband's parents, which was really kind. I love bringing plants inside and growing things. I'm not brilliant at keeping them alive, but I've got lots of plants and herbs, and I love having things on the windowsills. Originally, when we first moved here, this window here, where the sink is, was like a tiny single window. And so there was nothing actually in the kitchen that allowed you to see the view out. So again, we put a much bigger window in here, which has made a huge difference just to the lightness of the kitchen. I've got lots of bits and pieces up on the shelf, which I love because I look at them every day. And I love art and I love collecting pictures and prints. This little one here, this little owl, I found in a flea market in Paris, and I had it framed recently actually, and I haven't yet hung it, so it's just propped up, but he's waiting to find a home. And this I got from a gallery locally in Hampshire. It's actually a candlestick holder, but I just think the shape's really beautiful, so I have that on display. I've got this little mug, which is really sweet, which is painted from a little coffee lady where my dad lives in Norfolk, and she has a little coffee stand, and she has her own little cups. So you don't have takeaway cups, you have real ceramic cups, and she sells them as well. So I have this, and it's just got little kind of reference to North Norfolk, where my dad's house is. So sometimes I drink my coffee from here. And kind of moving along, I've got this painting here, which 2 of my good friends gave me for my 40th birthday. I'm telling you how old I am. I'm older than that now. And it's of a place in the south of France, which actually is where my husband and I got married. And we go there every year, and we go down with friends, and we've been going for years and years, and we love it. It's a really special place. And there's a little hotel that we go to with friends called Capelon, which I've got a plate of on the wall. So this is my little kind of south of France area, so to speak. And I've got some little bowls, this one here, which actually I made because I love doing ceramics, and I have a pottery wheel actually in a studio outside. So I make, when I have time, bowls and dishes and things. And this one here is actually, it's an old, I picked this up the other day, it's a really sweet jug. I think it's an old hot chocolate jug, a jug for hot chocolate, but I just thought it was a really gorgeous shape. I like the fact that it's got a pourer on the side, so I've got this up here maybe for a vase. And then my blinds are from Robert Keim, which is one of my favourite fabric suppliers. It's got some really gorgeous fabrics. I think this one is very pretty and kind of whimsical, which I love. And this little piece here is, again, I picked this up in an antique sort of brocante in France. I think it's an old cheese serving plate, which I think is really beautiful. There was a whole set, but I could only really sort of get one. So this is up here. Again, I haven't hung it, but I quite like it just propped up there. And then kind of coming round, I've got these little bird plates, which I bought when I was in Bath recently. This is my little bird corner. I've also got a pigeon plate up here, which I bought from a gallery recently as well, which I love. It's just really It's really pretty and colourful. I love having plants inside, as you can tell. So I've got all sorts of plants on the go. They've gone a bit leggy, but I like having life in my interiors. So I've got some plants and some herbs and things. I love drinking coffee. And actually my coffee machine is kind of one of my it's one of my favourite things. And when we moved from London, I deliberated about buying one for so long, and then I bit the bullet and got one, and actually it's just, yeah, it's great. It's like one of my favourite appliances. I use it every day. And my husband actually doesn't drink coffee, so it's just for me, which is great. I love cooking. I've got a lot of cookbooks in here. I'm going to open this cupboard. It's not going to be very tidy, but there's a lot of cookbooks in here. And yeah, I love to cook. I find it really relaxing, actually. I love experimenting with new recipes. And so when I've got time, I really enjoy cooking. And actually, it's a great kitchen to cook in. I've got loads of workspace, and yeah, I enjoy hosting as well. I bought these shell plates recently from Shellology, which she's based out in South Africa. I think they're really fun and really, really colourful and joyful. And then I've got this painting here, which was a gift to my husband for his 40th. And it's actually of North Norfolk, where my dad lives, which is a really special place for us. So that's kind of pride of place in this little cubby hole, which is where the old Arga used to be. And we took that out and made it into like a little seat. So it's a nice place to kind of sit and read and be. And then these plates at the top I got from south of France, where we go. There's a really gorgeous little shop, which is tiny, but she sells the most amazing ceramics. And every time I go, I kind of load my suitcase up with them. So I've got those up there. I think I probably need to stop buying plates or making plates, because I seem to have quite a lot. But yes, and then there's my little Moroccan plates here. And this little piece here is an old walking map of the area, which some friends gave my husband for his 40th birthday, which is framed in quite a fun way, which is quite nice. So if you follow me, we'll head into my living room. This is my living room. This is a room that we use all the time. Every evening we're in here with the kids and the dogs and everything. So it's a really cozy space. It's got very low ceilings, as you can tell. I can touch the ceiling. When we first moved into the house, this was actually, again, it was a really dark room. So all of these beams were practically black. And actually, even before we moved our furniture in, I got some specialist sandblasters to come and sandblast all the beams. And it made such a mess. I mean, literally there was like 2 inches worth of sand on the floor. So I'm really glad that I did it before we moved our furniture in. But I think it's made a real difference to the feel of the room. It's instantly lifted it. And the floor was already here, and I've not done anything to the floor, but the floor's great. But yeah, I painted it all. It was just white before, so I painted it in this really pretty. It's kind of a pinky colour. It's Edward Bulmer's clove, and the ceiling is all the same colour. So it's all Edward Bulmer clove, and it's just instantly made it feel warm and cosy. I've kind of got all sorts going on in here, and lots of different colours. There's reds, there's greens, there's neutrals. But the more I seem to put in, the better it feels, in a way, for me anyway. We replaced the wood-burning stove when we first moved in as well. We actually light the stove every evening, and yeah, it's super cosy. I love it. I recently had this fender made up, which I designed. We sit in here a lot, and like if we've got people over for dinner and things, we're all kind of grouped in here. So it acts as a really great space for people to sit and kind of be part of the conversation. So we've got people on the sofas, we've got people on the chairs, and then we can have people here as well. So it actually fits a lot more than you'd expect, because it's not a huge room. My sofas they were actually a real investment. They were probably one of the first things I bought when I moved in. They're from a wonderful company called Lawford's, and it's the Elmstead sofas. And I love that I have a pair of them because I think it's great conversationally sitting opposite each other. I bought these and I imagine I will have them forever and ever and ever because I absolutely love them. They're so comfortable. And actually I upholstered them in a sort of plain linen because I kind of wasn't quite sure where I was going with the design of this room initially. But I've now layered lots of things on top, and I've got a Suzanne throw and, you know, all sorts of cushions going on. So I think it gives them a bit of a lift. And you'll notice that there's no overhead lighting in this room. And actually, again, when we first moved in, this room was so dark, not only because the beams were practically black, but there was no lighting. So I've probably bought about 8 or 9 lamps for here. There's lamps everywhere. But I love that the lighting is really low, and in the evenings it's really cosy. There's a real mix of antiques in here, things that I've brought with me from London, like these side tables came from London, our London house. I think when I moved into this house, a lot of furniture, we needed more stuff. So I spend quite a lot of time on going to auction houses, or I've got furniture that has been given to me from my parents, which is really kind. So it's kind of a mismatch of things, but I think that gives it a bit of personality. So this chest over here was actually my grandmother's, and it's got this really beautiful fossil top. This is actually one of my favourite pieces of furniture. I love it. So it's a really special piece. This came from an auction house, and I bought a picture that I really like, which is in my hallway. And it came as a lot, and so there was about 5 other pictures in it, and this was one of them, which was a surprise because I didn't even know that was part of the lot. So I think it's a pretty picture, so I put it there. But it hasn't got any kind of sentimental values as such, but I just think it's a nice composition. So on the mantelpiece, this is a little painting of Norfolk again, and this one came from my husband's mum, which is really sweet. And I've got this little ivory elephant here, which is a very special elephant that came from Africa, which my husband's grandfather had. So yeah, this is a very special little thing for him. And there's a few little plates here which are from a little antique shop in France where we go. And this is a little a poppy tree. It says it's a poppy tree leaf, which is odd, but my daughter's called Poppy, so I had this framed recently. This was given to us by my husband's stepmother, and this is actually a table that I designed and had made, which I'm planning to have my own furniture collection. So this is one of the pieces which will hopefully be part of a collection, but it was based on an antique table, and I had it made up recently. So yeah, that's one of my designs. This is a picture which there was a lovely shop in France, and there's a lady who hand makes paper and collects wildflowers and then presses them within the paper. And I had this framed recently, so I love this. And my curtain fabric is from Sewn. This is the scrolling fern. And I had this made up bespoke actually, because originally they didn't used to print it on a linen. They now do it on a linen. It used to only be printed on silk. But yeah, so I had this made up again when we first moved in. I love it. It's one of my favourite patterns. I think it's so beautiful. That actually I got from an antique shop in Cambridge, and I keep meaning to take it to a furniture restorer because it needs a bit of TLC. But I love this serpentine shape, and it's full of kind of presents. It's got it's a present drawer. So, but yeah, it's a great piece actually. It's a really weighty piece, but I think it needs a bit of love perhaps. But I don't mind that it's a bit knocked about and things. But yeah, it came from an antique shop in Cambridge, and it wasn't expensive at all. But it fills the space really well. The ottoman it's from I forget where it's from actually. I think I've had this for a while, but I've had it reupholstered, and it's in a fabric. This is called Olive Sacking by Guy Goodfellow, and it's their chocolatey colour, and it's a really great fabric actually. It kind of goes with everything. I use it a lot in projects because I love a stripe as well, for one, but it's got a slight kind of relaxed feel to it. So I had this upholstered, and I love having loads. I've got so many books everywhere, and I love this. I don't mind that people put their feet up, or it's a great filler for the space. I first started my career in design. I studied fine art and history of art at university way back. I've always loved interiors. I've always loved spaces, and even growing up, I used to forever be moving my room around and painting it different colours and all sorts. So I did some work experience at a magazine house in interiors, and I decided that's what I wanted to pursue. So I did a course at KLC School of Design in London, and I did that for a year, and then I came out of that and I worked for a number of top London designers for about 7 years, and then I actually got pregnant with my first daughter, Poppy, and at the same time I'd just gone freelance with the last company I was working for, and I was sort of working a bit for them and a bit on my own, and then I had Poppy, and then I decided to set up my own business, and I've been doing that ever since. So Anna Hewitson Design has been going for about 13 years, I'd say, which has been really fun. So if you follow me, we'll head into our playroom. So before we get to the playroom, there's this little kind of intermediary space. So actually this used to have a stairs that goes down into our garage and a big cupboard here. And then this was just a wall. We've got like a little annex that's next door. So we took out the stairs, and we moved the washing machines from what was the boot room. And so my washing machines are here. And obviously put this door in here, which allows us to kind of go into use some of the annex space. And I wallpapered this in, this is Cole & Son Sweet Pea. I love this wallpaper. It's really happy. I love the yellow in it. And I put this little cafe curtain here to hide my washing machines. It's a bit of a through-fare space, but it works really well actually. And I think this is a really happy room. And then in here is our playroom, which I've recently decorated. So I did used to have this as an office, but I've now turned it into a kids' playroom because where their playroom was, I've made into a dining room. So I'm constantly moving things around in our house. But I wanted this room to feel really cosy. It's not quite finished. I've just had this sofa upholstered, which was the first sofa that I've ever bought. So this sofa has been with me for years. I think this is the third time I've had it upholstered. And previously it was in an off-white linen, and I've chosen this fabric for it, which I absolutely love, from a company called Tissu de Laine, and in a stripe, and I've railroaded it. And it used to have 2 seat cushions, and I've made it into 1. So yeah, I think I will always have a sofa, and it will probably take on various forms. But I put the shelving in when this was my office, and I'm actually having a cafe curtain made for across the back, which I haven't quite installed yet. But yeah, it's got kids' toys, books, everything in, and it's not always very tidy, but the kids can come in here, watch TV, hang out, and it's just off the kitchen, so it works really well as a space, and it's really cosy and warm in the winter. And the wallpaper is from GPJ Baker, and it's called Poppy Sprig. And yeah, I've just kind of wrapped it around the whole room, and then painted the beams in an Edward Bulmer colour. I forget the name of it actually, but yeah, it's still needing a bit of work, but it's getting there. But it's a really fun space. The kids like hanging out in here. So if you follow me, we'll head over into the dining room. So this is our dining room. This used to be our playroom, but obviously I've just had a bit of a switch around. And so this space, again, it's got really low ceilings, but I put the panelling in. So we've actually only just done this up recently. I put the panelling in and wallpapered it. The wallpaper it's another Guy Goodfellow paper, I think it's called Claude or something. And the panelling is painted in Edward Bulmer's London Brown. I also put this fireplace in. So before, when we moved in here, there was a big bank of cupboards. And when it was our playroom, it was great because we had all the toys and things in there. But now it's a dining room, I took the cupboards out, and because we've got a chimney the other side where the Alga used to be, we kind of linked into the chimney, and I actually built this kind of fake chimney breast, and we've got a wood burner in here. So it's really, really cosy in the winter. It actually gets quite hot in here, so for the people sitting here, you get quite toasty. But the fire surround, I looked for this for ages because I really wanted an antique, and this is a reclaimed limestone surround. So I put this in, and we've got some little bergamot tiles in the lining as well, and some terracotta tiles on the hearth. The tiles here were left over from another area, and I just had enough to make a hearth out of it. So the mirror I bought this in an antique shop in Norfolk, and I have yet to find some pictures to go either side of my fireplace, but I'm still on the hunt. But I've put some picture rails up so that I can hang them. I love using picture rails. I think they're really fun. And the dining table is an antique. It's a great table. I love a round table. I think it's really sociable. So everyone can kind of sit comfortably around here. So it seats 8. We can get 10 at a push. And it's really nice conversationally, just being in a round table. So it's good for the space. When I first bought it, I thought, oh, it's quite big, but actually I think it works. And this is an antique table which came from my grandmother, which is really pretty. It's an inlaid table. I love it. And this is a little antique Delft lamp, which again I bought in an antique shop in Norfolk. I upgraded the radiator in here, so this is one of the rooms where I've got a nice new radiator. Still kind of going with that, but I love old cast iron radiators. I think they're great. They've got like a real weight to them. And the blinds and the curtains, again, they're actually from Guy Goodfellow. They're based on a sort of African print. But it took me a long time to find these curtains actually, because I couldn't decide what to put with the wallpaper. But yeah, I love these. I like the fact that they look, I don't know, they don't look overly smart, which I think is nice. And this sideboard I bought from a lovely antique shop called Brown Rig in Tetbury. It's a bleached oak sideboard. I think it's got a gorgeous shape to it. So, and then the picture above is, my mum gave me this actually, and it's called the Honeymoon. I really remember it from my childhood, and I always remember it used to hang above her bed in her bedroom. So she gave it to me recently, and I think it's gorgeous. I love it. And the lamps are from Vaughan, and the shades are from Vaughan. They're a brilliant lighting supplier. I use them a lot. And actually the wall lights are from Neptune, and then this is from Pookie lighting. It was quite tricky finding this light because the ceilings are so low. I wanted something hanging, but equally I didn't want something that was going to be too much in your eye line. So yeah, I think this is a good solution. And then these pictures I bought recently from a company called Petrie Prints, and there's some antique bird prints. They frame them really nicely actually on different mounts, and yeah, they've got these lovely antique frames, so I think they're fun. I had this built in actually, this little bookcase, and when it was a playroom, but I kept it in here. It's a nice piece of joinery, and these plates are antique Swedish plates. My grandmother was Swedish, and so I've got a whole collection of these, and I think they're very pretty, so I've got them here. I think my style has evolved a lot over the years, and having worked for a number of different designers in the past, I've picked up lots of different styles from them. I think it's really important to have layering in an interior, so just having a house that's constantly evolving over time, and I think my style is inherently quite relaxed, quite informal. I like things to feel lived in and welcoming, and yeah, I think it's mixing lots of different layers and textures and mixing old and new. I like to use antiques, I like art, I have a lot of things, so I would say my style is, it's a little bit eclectic. I don't like it to look too perfect. I like it to feel, as I say, lived in and relaxed and welcoming and interesting as well, and not too contrived and not too put together. So I actually think the best interiors are the ones that don't feel sort of overly designed, that they feel that they've kind of come together over time and that they reflect the personality of their owners. So I like to look around and kind of understand a bit about who's living there by all of their things and the objects that they've collected, and I think that makes a really interesting interior. Should I take you into the hall? I've got some antique Swedish mirrors that my grandmother gave me, which, because everything else in the house has got such low ceilings, this is the perfect place to put them because it's the one place where we've actually bizarrely got this really high ceiling. I've got some antique pieces that I've bought along the way. This chest, which I bought from a shop in Rye, and this bronze sculpture was from my grandmother, which I think is very beautiful. This is another piece that I've designed myself, this chair, which I've had made. I had a picture hanger come recently because I had a different picture on this wall, and then I had all of these pictures and plates and things lying around that I've collected over time, and together we hung them all and put them all up, and it's really nice actually because everything's got like a slightly different meaning, and some are just nothing special, but I think all together as a group they're quite fun and quite playful. So yeah, it's amazing. You don't realise actually how much you have until you kind of lay it all out, and then we put it onto this wall. So it's quite a fun space. And this is an old Swedish daybed, which was my grandmother's. It's got a very wobbly bit on there, which I had stripped back and painted, and then I had this French mattress cushion made for it. So if you come with me, we're going to go into my bedroom. So this is our bedroom. We have done quite a lot to this room actually. I've wallpapered it, which has got a Robert Kime wallpaper called Cabbages. It's like a tiny little print. You have to kind of get up and close to see it, but it's a lovely sort of soft greeny colour. This room had lots of funny boxing, and like this fireplace, this is the chimney from downstairs in the sitting room, but it had all sorts of kind of boxing out. So we basically took the whole ceiling down and reconfigured it slightly so that it's a lot cleaner in a sense. And I built in the joinery, so I built in this window seat and I built in these wardrobes. And I've put these fabric panels behind the doors, which I think kind of breaks it up a bit and adds a bit of interest to them. All the woodwork is painted in Farrenball bone, which again is it's a kind of off-white with a bit of green in it, which complements the wallpaper. And the bed I had made when we first moved in. We were sleeping in not a Super King bed, and so it was great when we moved here. We had space to have a Super King bed, so I had this bed made up, and I designed the headboard. I actually designed the bed myself, and it's covered in a fabric by a really gorgeous company called Nami Sami, and yeah, it's a sort of yellow print on the flowers, which I love. It's a really kind of happy fabric. And the bedside tables are made by Alfred Newell. They're oak tables which fit the space well, and the lamps are from Hector Finch, and the lampshades are from Matilda Goad. We recarpeted everything, so I've got this sisal carpet everywhere upstairs, which is kind of one of my go-to things. I know sisal carpet can be a bit sort of Marmite-y, but I love it. I think it adds a sort of quite a relaxed feel to the room, and I like the fact that it's not white. It's you know, a sort of darker brown colour. It's quite forgiving as well, so it doesn't show the dirt. This is a little antique piece that I picked up in Petworth, where we live. It's just down the road. There's a great antique centre, so I bought this there. And I also bought this little antique chair recently, which I had recovered in a Penny Marison fabric and put a little skirt on it. So it's quite a pretty bedroom chair. And this is an antique dressing table, which my grandmother gave to me. Fits really well in the space. Well, and this little stool that I had designed and made up just by my upholsterer. I forget what was here before. I think there was like a big freestanding wardrobe that she had, which kind of weirdly blocked the window. So I built this in because we don't have loads of storage. We've obviously got a big bank of chest of wardrobes there, but these have drawers in them, which are really practical for putting socks and all sorts in. And then I had this seat cushion made up, and you know, some throw cushions. And actually, it's a really nice place to sit because we've got horses out in the field beyond, and the light comes streaming in here, as you can see. And actually, when we're lying in bed in the morning, we can open this blind and see all the way out. It's just, yeah, it's a really. I think this room is a very restful room. It feels quite calm, and yeah, we love it. It's a really nice space as well. So, but I'm about to have a half tester made for the bed, so that's coming in a couple of weeks' time, which is quite traditional. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how that looks installed. So this is my son's room. He is about to be 9. It's quite a tiny little room, but it's quite charming. It used to actually have a door in here into a bathroom, but we've blocked this up and just repainted it all new carpet. And I had this bed made for him, which is a bobbin bed by Alfred Newell, and is painted in a colour by Painted Paper Library called Beetle Nut. It's quite fun. He probably won't be in it forever, but for now it works really well in the space. I think we could probably just about get a double bed in here, but not a lot of floor space. And I've got a little antique chest of drawers as his bedside table, and we built in these wardrobes. And the blind is from Susie Atkinson Designs. These are cushions which I had from London. Actually, this little cushion's really sweet. This was given to us when he was born by this amazing company called Fine Cell Work. And they basically use the prisoners who they do lots of embroidery, and they write you a note for like where they're from. And yeah, it's a great way of incentive to kind of get them doing. Yeah, it's kind of it's quite a compact little space, but he loves it. He normally has all his toys out on the windowsill, and he sits on the bed and plays there quite a lot. So that's my son's room, and then this is our kind of family bathroom, which I've recently done. We've just put a shower in here because before there was just a bath, and there was actually like a little door into his room, so we've blocked that off just to create more space. And I have wallpapered it in this really lovely wallpaper by Isabella Worsley. It's really colourful and fun. And the panelling is actually also Edward Bulmer Clove, which I've got downstairs. I had a tin of paint left over and it worked really well with the wallpaper, so we just used that. We put new wood floor down. I love wood in bathrooms. I think it's really, it's got a softness to it, which is really great. As I say, we've got a shower in here, a bath. I mean, the kids don't really use this bathroom, they use our bathroom, but we try and encourage them to come in here. I actually grew up in Cambridge, and I went to school in Cambridge, and I lived there. And then we lived in London. I lived in London for about 15 years after university, and I had my children in London, and we moved out to West Sussex, as I say, about 5 years ago. And we initially kind of deliberated, we didn't know where to go. My husband's parents are East Sussex, my parents are Cambridge and actually Norfolk. And we looked at all sorts of different areas, and we just fell in love with this as a place. And the school where our kids go to, we love, and we love the fact that it's accessible to London, and we love the location. We're in the South Downs National Park, which is so beautiful, and growing up in Cambridge, which is very flat, it's a complete contrast. So we love being here. Now I'll take you into the guest bedroom. So this is our guest bedroom. We've got some wardrobes in here, which really useful storage. It's a sort of overflow from our bedroom. This guest bedroom gets the morning sun, which is really lovely. It's a really lovely sunny room. Because we raised the ceiling in our kitchen, that meant that this room became really low. You can see where the ceiling height was before. So we had to go up a bit in the loft. So we kind of had to, we did that, and then we had to inevitably do this. Eventually I'd love to wallpaper this room, but I haven't quite got there. But I've got these curtains from a company called Nicholas Herbert. And actually with my curtains, I always like lining them and doing a contrasting lining. I just think that's a nice little detail. So they've got quite a nice weight to them. This was an antique chest of drawers that was given to us by my husband's parents, which is fab, so it's good storage. The bed is a Super King bed that I had made up. And again, it's got the Guy Goodfellow olive sacking on the headboard, but it's in a red, which works well. Actually, this bed used to be in our annex, and we brought it through, so it kind of works in here now. My daughter's desperate to move into this bedroom, but there's a slight trade-off, because I think if my daughter has this, then my son wants something else. So we're just kind of still keeping this as a guest room, but yeah, it's enough space. It's a nice light room in here. And it still needs a bit of work, but it's sort of come together. So if you follow me, we'll go outside into my kind of gym area. This is like a separate space to the house, and it's like an outdoor gym sauna area, which has always obviously been here, but we converted it last summer. So I'll take you inside. So if you come in here, so we did this up actually on a bit of a budget. So I redid the floor. Actually redid the floor throughout. I used these reclaimed terracotta tiles on the floor, and I put this cladding in as well. Which is just really simple MDF cladding with a kind of V-groove in it. And I wrapped that across the ceiling and redid all the lighting. We've got an old sauna, so this has always been here, but the sauna, I just retiled the floor. We actually were living here for about a year and a bit, and we didn't think it worked. And then we realised how it worked. So now actually we use it quite a lot, and it's great. We love it. There's a little kind of loo in here, which again is all panelled and is painted in Edward Bulmer John Keel. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. So that's great. This is a great space for actually when people are outside using the pool and things. They can come in here, they can come and get changed. There's a little changing room in here with a shower, which I put in. This before just had like a single shower cubicle. So I put this walk-in shower in, and I've got these nice Sillige tiles, which I actually bought. I bought on sale, and I didn't really know where I was going to use them, but they're perfect for in here. So people can kind of come in and get changed. And then in here is the kind of gym space. So in here, I lifted the ceiling. So I did the same cladding in the ceiling in here as I've got in my kitchen. So before, the ceiling height was quite low. So I've raised it up and put these new lights in, which were from Pookie. And I've lime washed the walls with a kind of pinky lime wash paint. And then I redid the floor. And I put these big mirrors in as well, which were just mirrors, and I just used a bit of architrave and then framed them, so quite cost effective. But it's a really nice space actually. We use this a lot, and it's nice that it's separate to the house. We've got a good sound system in here, so you can open up the doors and blare the music out and no one hears you, which is quite fun. The word home means to me, it's a lot of things actually. It's everything to me, and it's my safe space, it's my family's space, it's where I spend the most amount of time. It's a place where we're all together, and it's a place of love and a place to express ourselves and be ourselves, and it's a place of happiness. Homeworthy, it was really great to show you around my house. Thank you for coming, and now I've got to go, I'm afraid. Thanks.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Graham Carr. Welcome to my home in Wiltshire. Can't wait to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name's Graham Carr. I'm an artist, designer, and I live in Wiltshire in the country, and welcome to my home. About 45 years ago, I was living in London, and I wanted to move to the country, and luckily I was doing a job down here in Wiltshire, which is only about an hour from London. So I thought this is the most perfect place to be. And so, in fact, I rented a cottage nearby, about 5 miles from here, and was looking around and eventually found the old school building, which was in a totally derelict. Nobody had lived here ever before, and it had been empty for 2 years after it was given up as a school. And I decided this is the most perfect space. And here we are 40 years later, and it really works for me. So this is what I call the big room, which was the original school room. This is where it was divided in two, as far as I know, with just a curtain in between. And there was a big stove in the middle to keep the poor kids warm. And but then when I arrived here, the ceiling was falling down, and it was just a total mess. And you could see there were drawings on the wall where people it had been on the market for 2 years. People had thought, what can I do with this space, you know? But nobody bought it. But I was the only person that was interested. So here we are, and this is how I've transformed it into what I call the big room, and filled with all the things that I really like. This is a kind of desk, a sort of proper desk that I don't really work at very often, but this is rather wonderful carving here of a skater, which is quite unusual. You don't often see that. And this behind me is the pitch violin, which is from India, and it's this religious piece, but it's what I love is the lotus flowers, which are kind of just in rows floating at the background with Krishna in the middle. But it's sitting on our new wallpaper, which is a kind of more civilized, not civilized, but a proper way of doing the lotus flowers in correct rows and so on. But I love the combination of the two things, the primitiveness and the kind of more stylized. And this big collection of sort of pots of Delft, Chinese and Korean, and sitting on an Italian from Genoa, a painted piece of furniture, which, I mean, superb, and the movement in the painting is just absolutely lovely. And these little kind of scenes in each door, and it's a lovely piece. These are rather wonderful. They're from a church. I have a set of 4 of them, which the antique dealer had them, and she didn't want to sell, and she loved them like I love them now. And eventually she had to sell, and she offered them to me. And I said, well, I've got to have them. I've wanted them for 10 years. So, and here they are. They're in the room. This rather wonderful dog that belonged to a great friend of mine called Annabelle Lindsay. And I always said I loved it. It was in a house in the country. And I had a monkey, a Chinese monkey, it was about that size. And we did a swap. I had the dog and she had the monkey. So I think we were both pleased with what we got. This is a very interesting piece of work here. I mean, it's rather fine gentleman, a French carving. I don't know whether it was originally painted, but it's something really quite special. I mean, there again, came from a really good French dealer who has wonderful things, and I just had to have it. I know it's just really rather special. But these pots here, these come from a wonderful chap who's in Ludlow. I'm trying to think of his name, but he's a wonderful potter. I bought an awful lot of his pots. And the drawing behind is a charcoal sketch, which I have such admiration for it. I could never do that, it's by the same man painting up there. It's the same sitter as well. He's called Graham Wilcox. He's a Scottish artist. I mean, really, really wonderful. But it's a big, difference of the modern with the kind of antique. A lot of different things going on. And the chandeliers are quite interesting, actually. There are a pair of them. I've had, over the years, and these, I used to go to Paris quite often. Friends of mine had a flat on the Ile Saint-Louis. And we used to go to Clignancourt, to the antique flea market. And I saw these, and I thought these would be absolutely perfect for the room. So I said, right, I'm going to have them. Big decision. How am I going to pay for them? But there you go. And so, right, send them over. And it was so funny because it's quite an unusual, funny story really, because I was waiting for them to arrive, very excited. And I thought a huge box was going to arrive with it from the lorry. The man came walking up to the door with like something from IKEA, like a sort of big flat pack box. And there were the two chandeliers, because they collapse into nothing. They're just on a string in between. I mean, it's so clever. So I could have saved an awful lot of money because I used to drive to Paris. I could have just packed them in, but it's quite a funny story anyway. But I love them. Just the scale is so good and the shape. And they're sort of round about the date of about 1800, 1790, 1800. As I said, I love textiles. So I've got a collection of cushions here, which are all different nationalities and whatever. But these I'm rather proud of because I had a wonderful Japanese kimono that was in fragments really, but I bought it years and years ago and I always loved the pattern and the colour. And I managed to get some yards made of the fabric, copying it almost exactly. It was made in Miramar, I think, whatever it's called now. It's in Vietnam, no, somewhere like Vietnam, whatever. And I couldn't believe it when it arrived because it's absolutely beautiful. But this is from Uzbekistan. This is from Uzbekistan as well. It's sort of modern. Fabric is French, rather good. It's a rather good colour. Some more cushions here. These are wonderful Indian kalamkari prints, which I absolutely love. I love the red in it. I mean, it's so real, These are Uzbek, wonderful tulip pattern. More Uzbek there, which is the carnation pattern. And behind it is this wonderful car, which I kind of fell in love with. It reminded me of a car I had when I was a child. They made them for children, that was for a child as well. But the colour combination is rather good too. The coffee table that I have, it was never a coffee table. It was originally a mortar. It comes from the Himalayas. It has 3 holes in it where some sort of seed was there, and they pounded it to, and it's kind of, it has this sort of tray, so all the kind of, I suppose it was the bad bits came out and the good bits stayed inside. I'm not quite sure how it works. But it's the most beautiful shape out of one tree. Well, it was half a tree, obviously. One of those wonderful, cypress trees or something like that. The fireplace is quite interesting. It's French. It's a copy of a Régence, which is sort of 1720, but this is 19th century. But I just love the shape of it because it almost looks Gothic as well. Above it is an Italian mirror, round about the date of about 1800. But I love it, kind of the simplicity, the gilding on the top. And these gentlemen here, I'm really not quite sure who they are. I mean, to me, they could be either Mexican or Italian. I mean, they're carved out of wonderful wood, and they're kind of a bit eccentric, but they're rather good looking towards one another. The pots are Italian, Montelupo, which we've now done a wallpaper, which is taken from this pattern here, because I've always loved that. That was the reason I bought them. There's always a reason that I buy these things. Something picks up on. The plate is also Italian, really quite early. These pots down here, these are quite interesting because they come from Spain. I do this trip Well, I used to do the trips twice a year, driving to Portugal. But I fell in love with these. I saw them on Instagram or something. And I loved the kind of primitive marking on them. And there was a set of 5, which I bought all the 5. And it made me drive to Seville to buy them, and found this wonderful shop with wonderful people. And I just love the colours. I always thought I'd sell them, but it's never happened. Right, over here we've got another big collection of things again. I mean, this is a rather beautiful lamp base, I think Indonesian, something like that. And this is beautiful. Absolutely, it's a wonderful Japanese bird, which is a perfume burner. You put the cinders in there and the perfume, and then the smoke comes out of the beak of the bird. It's really beautiful shape. But what made me, when I saw it, you don't see them very often, is my friend in Portugal, where I worked for about 3 or 4 years. She had one sitting on the fireplace, and I always wanted one of those. So I found it somewhere near Buxton, up in the whatever that part of the world is called. Anyway, it was an antique fair there, and I just had to have it. Behind is a Chinese horse, a terracotta horse. I don't know what date it is really, but whether it's a copy or whether it's real or whatever. But I love the shape again. But behind it is a quite interesting abstract painting. It's actually, I've had it for 40 years now, because when I went to Montreal, which I went there when the house was being made into a house, the school was being made into a house, I went to a gallery and this painting was there. And the man who painted it, I think his name was Savoy, something like that, French-Canadian. And he was very influenced by Japanese artists. And it's an abstract with, I just love it. I would never get rid of it. I mean, it's superb. This is a rather beautiful pot here. I can't remember the name of the artist, but he's in Bath. And he's quite interesting because he puts metal into the clay. And then he makes the form and lets them dry. And then he goes to different sort of strange places like the Bahamas or whatever. He buries them underwater so that the metal changes colour. And I wish I could remember his name because he's so clever. But it's so fascinating, and it's the most wonderful colour. It looks as though it's been under the water. It's a rather good shape too. This is a pot which is from Thailand, as far as I know. Rather good shape, but it could be modern as well. Over here, I rather like this beautiful figure here. It's a copy of a painting made by a ceramicist called Jane Muir, and it's copying a painting, an Elizabethan painting, of the 2 sisters who had 2 babies. And it's a kind of very graphic thing. And she's made a wonderful ceramic copy of it, which is lovely. Rather nice, interesting colour there, the glass. And that's a painting by Elizabeth Blackadder of pheasants, which is quite interesting because the female, is more beautiful than the male, really, which is normally the other way around because the male is more colourful. But the way she's painted it is beautiful. A wonderful drawing of the claws and so on. And here is the dining table set up for, with an interesting collection of things again. The plates came from Italy. They're from Bassano in northern Italy when I was on their trip with some friends of mine. And they have a big thing about mushrooms. And these are all the different mushrooms. They're a rather good Baroque shape. The glasses came from Palma, Mallorca. And they were, that's interesting again, because from Murano in Italy, I don't know why, but some of the people who made the glass, they moved to Palma, Mallorca, and they set up their own little company making glasses. And this is a copy of a very early 17th century glass, but made, they still make it now. Wonderful. Over in this corner, there's a rather interesting painting, Indian painting, of a peacock. But it shows the front and the back of the peacock, which is quite unusual, it's beautifully painted, the detail. And you can actually, if you get close to it, you can see the markings on the front of the feathers through that. It's so clever the way they've done it. It's amazing. I think the back is almost better than the front, because the front is more kind of, as you normally expect the peacock to be. These are more of the Spanish pots which I love. Look at those markings, aren't they great? Delft lamp, French chair from Lyon. And this shouldn't be here really, but I got it out of my studio because it was getting covered in, paint spatters. And I rather love it. I've never seen this kind of border before painted on the table. A sort of typical sort of, central motif, but this is just absolutely lovely. So this is the staircase that I put in when I originally moved here to my bedroom, and one and only bedroom then, going up onto the mezzanine floor. Well, I've always been artistic. I always sort of painted and drew from a very young age. Eventually I moved to London, and I was very lucky because I answered an advertisement in the Evening Standard, in London. And it was for a decorative artist, and I didn't know what it was, but I thought, well, I'd try for it. And it was the start of my career, as I am now, really, because it was working for somebody called James Smart, Jim, who was a most wonderful, eccentric designer, decorator, whatever you want to call him. And I worked with him for about 5 years, something like that, learning how to restore painted furniture for some of the antique dealers, the best antique dealers in London, and also for the National Trust as well. And then I started on my own, and since then I've done a varied sort of things, from garden design to restoring Chinese wallpapers, to travelled all over the world to all sorts of places, even to Japan to do a job there. And so it's been a very interesting career and very interesting clients as well. So this is my first bedroom. It's changed an awful lot, actually. There was a four-poster bed here originally, but there have been lots of transformations. But this is how it is now, which is quite fun. It's sort of, there's a big mixture of things again, a lot of Chinese pots and ceramics. Rather wonderful figure over here, the Han Dynasty lady waiting, which is rather good. And these are perfume burners again, from China. They go like that. You put the stuff you're going to burn inside, and then the smoke comes out of the dogs of foo, whatever they're called. But I love these. They're just wonderful, those birds. The scale of them is just so good. They probably would have been painted originally with kind of pink and white, a little bit like this one here. This pot here, I'm not quite sure where it comes from, but it's Asia somewhere, but it's the most beautiful shape. And lovely textures as well. I love these kind of early markings. The panels, there are two gilded panels here, which I found in London. And I think they're kind of good luck or something, but they're painted with little bats and clouds and God knows what, and little figures and whatever. Rather lovely painting. It's two-colour gold too, which is quite interesting. This is African, which I love. The pattern is mudcloth. Just such a good pattern, absolutely lovely. And that's a kind of a modern fabric, but there again, it's a good design. The cover comes from India, tie-dyed, just nice subtle colours. And another panel there, gilded panel, and another bird, which goes with the other one. So there's a collection of 4 of those, all of the same scale. They must have all come from the same place. Rather interesting chair here. It's Portuguese, but it's quite wide, and it's got a lot of movement to it, and the carving is absolutely lovely. I bought that when I was living there a long time ago. But some interesting pots, Chinese pots. Love this one. So simple, beautiful. These chairs are lovely. I bought those in Portugal when I was there. Painted, but they're Italian rather than Portuguese. But I just love the scale of them. They're almost like people again, they have character. I think they're fun. All of the Chinese ceramics, I was very lucky because I found a dealer in antiquities, and he was able to bring things out of China, but through a Chinese person. And they were at affordable prices, which was so good, because normally these things were huge prices in sort of antique shops in London. So one was able to amass the things over a few years as I could afford it. And it's like the pots and so on. They all came from the same source. Wonderful. It is dried up now. You can't get those things. I was lucky to be able to do that at the time. When I first moved in, and I always used to love this view, even though it's changed quite a lot since I've been here over the years. But now it looks particularly good as well, because being up at this height and seeing the scale of the roof line and so on. I mean, imagine this was built in 1840, 1850. I mean, those beams have not moved at all. I mean, they're absolutely wonderful. And it supports the whole building. I mean, it's just lovely. But you can see the whole collection of my kind of curiosities, really. But you can see all the different kind of quality of things from here. Well, when I was younger, obviously, I did enjoy dancing, and I was quite a good dancer, I think. I mean, I have, memories of nightclubs and God knows what, and it was all good fun. And then, I've got into this Instagram thing, and I suddenly thought, well, what can I do to make it new? I mean, they kind of prompt you in a way to do things differently, and so that you attract more people. And so I thought dancing. I mean, a lot of people are dancing, and I can still do it just about. So this is where I am now, which is quite fun, and I enjoy it. And it's actually good exercise too. And one shouldn't feel kind of nervous about it because it just moves the body, And we need to, as you get older, you need to move the body, otherwise you become a kind of stagnant thing. We don't want that. So this is the garden hall, the back hall to the house, which is part of the original. This has also changed an awful lot. I mean, the trouble with me is I get bored with things, so you kind of move on to another decoration. Anyway, at the moment, because I'm working with Mia Ray and we're doing these wallpapers, this is the design from the Montelupo ceramic that I showed you on the fireplace. This is my interpretation of it, and we've done it in a green version, which was just that wonderful movement of the leaves and so on. There's a French mirror here, gilded mirror, wonderful glass you can't really see yourself in. I rather love this stick. I got this it's for catching sheep, I think. I bought it in Portugal. It's a shepherd's crook, but a really good one, sort of pull the thing like that. It's quite fun. The fabric I bought in Uzbekistan, in Bukhara. It was all very narrow widths of I forget the name of the fabric now. It's a mix of cotton and silk anyway, but dyed with a kind of ikat pattern. I mean, they do wonderful colour combinations and so on, but quite nice to bring it back from there. I mean, a long time ago, about 30 years ago, something like that. This is one of my favourite pieces painted by me. I mean, I used to produce a lot of painted furniture, and for years and years I had this wonderful man who made furniture for me, and we could do copies of Italian pieces or make up our own or whatever it is. But I especially love this, and I don't ever want to part with it. I love the painting on it. And there again is linked to our wallpapers because it's the Queen's necklace pattern, and it was our inspiration for the wallpaper. So it's painted in blue and white. But I don't know, it's one of my favourite things, like a lot of things are, but this one is a special one. Moving on into the bedroom, this is a secret door into the bathroom. We go to the bathroom first. I did start collecting when I was very young, actually. I remember when I was still at home living with the family and so on. There was a little antique shop in our village, and I bought a spear, which was from Africa. God knows why I'd want a spear at the age of 12 or 13 or something. But I had some pocket money and I bought that. And then I started collecting little pots and things like that. And so it was obviously part of my kind of makeup, I wanted things that sort of made me interested in, it sort of opened up another world to you, And then I started working in the arts and working for interesting people and good clients. And of course they collected things, so it became a bit of a compulsion to start collecting. But I don't collect the normal things. I mean, it's sort of, I love things that make my painting and so on, my creative thing more exciting. So I'm surrounded by stuff that I really like. And it could be from anything, from very classic sort of 18th century furniture, which I love chairs, I've got a thing about chairs, and to paintings. My most favourite thing is in the big room, it's called a pitchvai, which is from India. It's actually a religious painting of lotus flowers, all in rows, and then with sort of Krishna in the middle. But I love the way it's done. It's a very crude painting. And we've actually made a wallpaper with Mia Ray that is similar, but it's a much more sort of civilised version of it, that was one of the first things I bought in London, was a fragment of a pitchvai, which is almost the same as our wallpaper. But I love things that just, they have a story to them. And I've bought them all in different places, different countries, and just made a collection. I mean, far too many things, but it's good fun. They're inspiring. So the walls, there again, I painted it several times, but this, I was inspired by going to India, staying in the Samod Haveli in Jaipur. And the bathroom that I had was all in marble, but it was this design. And I thought, well, I can't do a marble bathroom, but I'm going to copy it and do it in my colours. So this wonderful chevron pattern, which it makes a good, good thing for a small space, and it's a kind of unusual because it's got a high ceiling and so on. So that's quite fun. These are rather wonderful. These are staircases, and they come from West Africa. Can't remember the name of the state. I should know because they're Dogon, that's what it is. But they're rather beautiful. I've got a collection of 4 of them, which I absolutely love. They're like a piece of sculpture. The mirror's quite interesting because it was actually framing a most wonderful Persian painting, which belonged to a Persian princess. A friend of mine was doing reframing this painting, and they didn't want the original frame that it was in. So this is the original Persian frame, which I think is wonderful, and I've copied it in a sense because it's actually quite simple, but it has little mirrored sections, which is lovely. This is quite fun. I bought it the other day at Livington at the fair. It comes from Tibet or Himalayas anyway, and it's just sort of fun thing. There used to be a very posh chandelier there before, but this I think is much nicer actually. The mirror is Portuguese, rather nice design, rather wonderful carving. Rather good painting here, which is Aboriginal. You see, I like a lot of different things, but they all kind of go together and I make it work. African piece here, which is rather good with the horns and so on. Coming to the bath, there's quite a funny story there as well, because where I stayed in Portugal, where I lived there, this friend of mine, she found this bath in London, and she thought it would do for her. She thought it'd be absolutely perfect because it's the most beautiful kind of 19th century French painted with imitation marble. And she was going to ship it to Portugal. And then I said I was going to have, which actually never happened, in America when I was working there, I was going to have, a friend of mine was going to make a bath in wood, in a special wood, which was like the Japanese have, but it was going to be that sort of shape. And she decided that she didn't want this metal bath, she wanted my wooden bath instead. But unfortunately, the wooden bath never happened. The guy never got around to making it, which is so sad because it would have been wonderful. But I still ended up with the painted bath, which I'm very pleased about as well. But poor Gordana, she went without. Coming into the bedroom, these are some of my more favourite things, but they're paintings by a native Red Indian from America, obviously. But he's rather special. The first one I bought is a shaman, a deer shaman. I love the way he paints. It's very graphic in a way, but his colour sense is just beautiful. And we had them framed with sort of silver gilt. I think they're rather good. Favourite jacket there as well, and a belt. These are the 2 dogs that I've had since I've been here. Dear old Ozzy was an Irish Water Spaniel, and then Palmer, who was a Manchester Terrier. Both very different dogs. One had a very kind of Rastafarian coat, and the other one had a very smooth, shiny coat. But both great characters. The wardrobe is English, as far as I know, but I love the colour and the kind of distressed, decoration, which is almost gone, really. Favourite jacket, unfortunately. More Indian miniatures here. And this is quite an interesting painting, this one. It's by, gosh, I can't remember her name now. Isn't that awful? Anyway, it was painted in sort of 1920s, 1921, 22, something like that. And it was in the Royal Academy, as far as I know. And she was thought of as one of the great portrait painters of the time. And she did go on to paint, but she didn't become that famous. But she has, I love that. This is one of her sisters. The fabric that's on the walls is actually, it's crewel work from India, modern. And I was lucky enough, a friend of mine was bringing it over from India. And I bought enough to make the curtains to start off with, which was great. Then he had some more came over, but it was a slightly different scale. It was slightly smaller in scale, so I decided, I bought it anyway, because to get blue and white is quite unusual. And but it doesn't actually notice. I mean, that scale is different to that one, but the colour's the same, which is great. And so I put it on the wall, which is good. And also made the four-poster bed out of it, and the valance and so on, and the bed cover. There was enough to do all that, which is great. The beds, I've had several different beds, had several different, lots of things. But this is one I had made, but not the columns. These are originally from India, but I repainted them with this wonderful chain pattern on. Well, I think it's wonderful. But I took that from an Indian design. And we made the bed head, and I did that kind of rather graphic, it's almost like sort of snow coming down. But then covered the whole thing in the crewel work fabric. And over here is the original pitch vine that I bought years and years ago. It was one of the first things I bought in London. And this is what we've copied for well, it's a similar thing. It's not exact copy for our wallpaper with Mia Ray. And it's the pitch vine with this beautiful border. I mean, it's almost faded on that one. I've sort of, the newer one, obviously, I put in more sort of, but I love the faded look of that. It's so good. The mirror is French. Not sure about the date, probably about 1750, something like that. But I love the carving on the top. More Montelupo, you can tell I like that. It's this beautiful design, it's so good. They were all apothecaries pots, which is, and obviously, you know, I have quite a lot of them now, but they were all used. I mean, they were not meant for decoration, really. They were used to put liquids in and so on and pour it out. Rather beautiful. But you see the different hand there, from that one to that one. It's so different. They're all painted, you know, by individual people. This is the entrance to the house, but it was the original entrance for the school as well. And it was one of the first things I painted. And it's taken from an Italian panel that I bought in London. And it's a chinoiserie, kind of very primitive, and the colours I absolutely love. And they're African masks. I always mix things up and make it a little bit extraordinary. I don't like to be too precious about things. And odd things are around here. But this is the entrance hall. This pot, which is, I think sits rather well against my painted wall, is actually a 19th century pot with a kind of French influence, but beautifully painted irises in the most lovely, beautiful kind of emerald green. Lovely colours. Over here we've got a Portuguese mirror, a gilded Portuguese mirror, and two French pots. You see, I mix everything up. It's sort of, it doesn't matter which country it comes from. It's just, as long as they look well together. A little medieval table underneath, which the pots are sitting on. It's from African to Portuguese to France to, you know, it all makes, and it works, you know, it all makes a good thing. So here we are in my office, total chaos, but it's not as bad as it normally is. But another more collection of things which inspire me for painting and goodness what. But it's a lovely space, lovely. I like the overhead light, which is so good. And more, some quite interesting modern sculptures here, which are by a Scottish artist. Again, I seem to like Scottish artists. And can't remember her name, but she's rather good. But she won a scholarship to go to Japan. And this is her inspiration from that trip to Japan. And this rather modern form, I think rather beautiful, kind of very angular heads and so on. And they're just masks at the top rather than a complete head. But they're, you know, it's juxtaposed with Chinese ceramics. He's rather wonderful, this big figure over there. He's kind of, he has a snake and a kind of tomahawk thing, a sort of mallet. It all has symbolism. It's all, you know, the Chinese are wonderful because they have all these. There's a rather good figure over here, the white one. He looks like a you know, somebody who goes underwater with one of those sort of helmets on. But there again, there are two Jane Muir sculptures which are ceramic figures, which I love, with the blue spots. And this rather funny faces, but he has a pea pod on the top of his head, which I think is It's just brilliant. I don't know why I think it's brilliant, but I just do. It's kind of, it makes you laugh, what it's all about. The desk where some work gets done, try to get organised sometimes. Picture of my Palmer there. The desk is Scandinavian, Swedish, and it's been, I love the painting on the cornice, which is so good, but the colours are just so good as well. Great scale. It hides a lot of multitude of sins inside it. That's one of our new wallpapers there, which is quite fun. Good red lacquer. Delft tiles, which are always an inspiration, because we're doing wallpapers of that. It's actually very difficult to describe my style, actually, because even though I worked with, doing jobs which were kind of very fine decorating, really, my style isn't like that. It's a little more kind of rustic, but still goes into great detail. And I love colour, which John Fowler taught me about, and I love different textures and fabrics and textiles. It's not very English. It's more continental than it is, because I actually lived in Portugal for some time. And I picked up on, those sort of countries like Italy and Portugal and Spain and France. They painted everything that didn't move, and that was quite exciting. In England, where it was slightly more contained and we don't do it in such an exciting way. But that's been a big influence on what I do. And now I'm designing wallpapers at this age, and it's still great fun, which is, finding new things and just another way of making life exciting. So moving into the studio where all the serious work gets done, a lot of the the painting and whatever, and the collections of things still carry on, paintings galore. I've recently got this cupboard. This is a wonderful French cupboard that I bought in Paris, which has got a whole lot of textiles inside, which is so useful because it hides it all away and keeps it kind of safe as well. This is a table that I've painted, which is painted with the Delft tiles, an imitation of Delft tiles, and all the patterns that I really like, especially that one there. It's so good. That's a piece that was, just made for stock, really, This is a mirror frame that I'm working on at the moment. These are some of my paintings that I've sort of, this one's finished, but there are other ones underneath which are unfinished. I'd rather like that one, actually, which I really must get on and finish it. It's of a local house, which I really like. I love the kind of scale of that. But I love painting the grass. So this is another of my paintings here. I rather loved it because it was a field. It was in between Wales and England, Herefordshire, and it was a field. I stopped to have, I don't know, a picnic or something. There was this field of buttercups, and it just went on and on and on. So I thought I took a couple of photographs and I did a painting eventually. But it was the mixture of the buttercups, the mauve clover, and that little, I forget what it's called now, like a little blade of brown. I forget, plantain, I think it is. But it was this wonderful combination, and I've been back there since, but it's never looked like that again. But it's rather good. This is another sort of painting that I do, which is, I originally got the idea from, somebody asked me to copy. They'd bought an Italian bedside table, and on the top it was painted with this kind of trellis of ribbon with herbs tucked underneath it, but it was all in a sort of trompe-l'oeil of what it should look like, and I always thought it was such a good idea. So I've sort of emulated a few times now, and we're now going to make a wallpaper of it, which is fun as well. And we've just done one with a wonderful blue background, which is going to be sensational. But it's lovely to be able to do these things. But this shows it before, without the flowers and so on, just as the bare trellis, which is quite. I've got to work on that one. This is a wallpaper that we've just produced, which is rather good. These are not the final colours, but I love the design of that. And this is a frame I'm working on at the moment. We're doing a shop. We're helping somebody in a shop in Golborne Road in London, and we're for the wallpapers. This is, and so I'm doing a frame just to put one of our wallpapers in. This is the Bokhara wallpaper, but this is not finished. It's going to have another. I want to do painted irises on there, which I think would be fun. And that's quite interesting, the bulrushes. That's an idea that John Fowler had, the man that who was such an inspiration for me. He painted a room for the Duke and Duchess of Windsor in France, at the Mill, I think it was. I don't think it was ever carried out like that, but he had a piece that I I copied. And it's bulrushes, which is rather good shape, I think. Lovely to paint as well, kind of very free. The chandelier, it's a great scale, and it's just fun to have there. Even though it's oversized, I think it works. It's a very important thing, the home. I mean, it's where you feel at peace, I think. And when you can recoup, you know, from what the world throws at you. It's very important to have your home and be surrounded by things that you love and an atmosphere that you love. That's why I love colour, because it's colour is kind of enveloping. You know, especially in the big room here, it kind of when you walk in, you just feel at home, which is really nice. Homeworthy, it's been wonderful showing you around, but it's really time for you to go now. So goodbye.
Down a quiet lane in the English countryside sits the charming cottage of interior designer Lucy Cunningham. Inside, Lucy's joyful love of pattern brings warmth and personality to every room, while outside, a well-loved garden opens to wide skies and long, gentle evenings.
We've got a little garden at the front here, which is lovely. You can watch the sunset. Lucy and Tom put in a peony and rose garden. So in the summer, when I'm here, in the evenings, I will sit with my glass of wine and look at the peonies and roses and watch the sun go down. Hi Homeworthy, I'm Lucy Cunningham. This is my home in Hampshire. I'm very excited to show you around, so come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. I'm Alison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
Click the join button below to access all of our latest episodes ad-free and watch extended cuts of this and other homes, opening the doors to new rooms and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
I can't wait to see, I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below or scan the QR code on screen to find fabulous furniture, coffee table books, and accessories that can transform your house into a home.
Hello, my name is Lucy Cunningham. I am an interior designer. Welcome to my home in Hampshire. We had been looking for a while. We were renting before we saw this house. We'd looked at lots of houses. I knew the area. I knew it had a really lovely pub, that the surrounding countryside was really sort of beautiful. So for me, it's always really important to have something visually to look out of the window at. And it was beautifully quiet. It was just wonderful. We're on a lane. In fact, one of my sons, when he was little, when we first bought it, he thought we were living on a private road for for ages because hardly any cars come down here. So it's just got this wonderful sort of feeling of calm with beautiful views of surrounding countryside. The people living here beforehand, she was an artist or is an artist, and actually her daughter is an interior designer as well that I knew. There was something really lovely about that. The minute we walked into the house, we just knew we loved it. It felt like it gave you a big, lovely hug as you walked in. It's got a lovely, warm, friendly energy. I grew up in Kent, and I grew up in a very sporty family. My father was a professional cricketer and my mother was a professional tennis player, and we were brought up on sport. Creativity was just not part of our life, really. I always sort of loved clothes and fashion, and I think my mother has got a good eye and she would sort of arrange things nicely around the house, but it was never something that was really sort of spoken about much. And after I left university, I started to work in fashion. I was doing fashion PR. It was then that I began to really sort of understand, and I loved colour and pattern and textiles and that creative world. And even though I was sort of on the PR side, I started to work with a designer in Notting Hill called Alice Temperley. I was with her right at the beginning with her husband, her then husband, sister, and the pattern cutter. And it was fascinating seeing how the whole process began from, you know, a sort of textile through to clothing. And I think that really, really sort of sparked my creativity and interest. And I then got married, had children, we lived abroad for a bit. And then it was only when we moved out of London and I was sort of doing up our home, our first home, that's when things really began to sort of change. It did start to happen as proper work and people wanting to hire me to do their houses. So this is the dining bit of the kitchen, and again, a lot sourced by Caroline from auction, but also things I saw. These are one of my favourite purchases ever. They're from Robert Kime, and who I work a lot with and you know, take clients there a lot. They were just perfect, and these sweet little squab sort of cushions were made from a vintage textile that I picked up in Petworth. These plates, I'm trying to figure out where they can go. They again were from an antiques market in Arundel, I think, but they might go alongside this old French mirror. Vintage fabrics on lampshades as well is always really fun because it's nice to have something sort of unexpected in the home. I like it when people walk in and be like, ooh, where's that from? Or I don't recognise it. So I think it's always nice to have something slightly unexpected. We've got the old Keelam rug on the floor, covering the terracotta, which I would like to replace at some point. But for now it works. And then I'm trying to figure out where to put Felix's school photograph at the minute. That might have to go in his bedroom because it's quite long. Quite long and quite big and will take up quite a bit of space. Plates on walls. I love having plates on walls. It's such a great way to decorate. It doesn't have to cost the earth. Really sort of sweet. I got this at Ardingly Antiques Fair one early morning a few years ago before we moved here, and I actually bought it for this house. I thought it would be fabulous to have something with this colour. I love it. It's sort of electric, but I think it works. It's a fabulous old planter that I bought from Susan DeLis, another designer who I get lots of textiles from, and I love it. I haven't had time to plant it up for today, but and then again, more plates. Can't decide where they should go. This is where we sort of all sit down, Sunday lunch, Christmas Day, evenings with friends coming over for supper. It's a really sweet space. It's darker at this time of year, but it's often actually really lovely in summer as well because we can have the French windows open into the garden, and that adds a really lovely dynamic into it as well. It's a very sort of simple setup, but it's warm and it's jolly and fun. And yeah, lots of nice sort of meals, suppers, lunches, all of that kind of thing happening here. Now we're in the kitchen. This I bought not that long ago actually from a lovely antique shop in Midhurst called Olive Interiors, and I just saw it and thought it's perfect for this space. I love old pine. When it's scrubbed like this, it suited the kitchen. It's a very sort of humble cottage. The cottage was originally workmen's cottages for the hop fields, the surrounding hop fields for the farm. So it's not grand. It's very sort of authentic and real. But I just loved this piece, and it's also really lovely having all the glazing with the old glass. And I've got sort of all my favourite knickknacks in there, from sort of these lovely goblets that Caroline gave me to all sorts of different bits and pieces that I sort of pick up. I'm a magpie, and I can't resist bits of ceramic. And yeah, as you'll see, it's a complete mix of style. There's not sort of one thing. It's just whatever I'm drawn to and makes me feel happy. These two armchairs were in my studio in London, the fabrics G. Monroe, Woodbury, and I love it. These chairs are great, and normally the dogs sit on them. And they're very grand dog beds, basically. So that's that. Arga was already here. It's on all year round. It's our only source of cooking, so it is on in the summer as well, and it does get stifling, but it's great. It's so cosy on a winter's day if you come in, or down in the morning in the kitchen in the winter and it's cold. And I'm starting to collect some sort of copper pots and things. And what Lucy and Tom did, the previous owners, was great. They, sourced a lot of stuff from reclamation yards. They put in these fabulous copper worktops, which are all round the run of the kitchen, and they're great because they're unique, they're full of character. She told me that every mark, was sort of laced with history. Every mark made a story or was a story, and I've tried to embrace that and not worry about lemon juice squirted on or wine or anything that sort of stains. It's fun. I mean, it sort of changes over time. But it's lovely and rich and warm. These old reclaimed tiles from a reclamation yard nearby. And then I've got these fabulous relaxed Roman blinds here. It's a fabric by Decor Barbar. And it's lovely. I loved having the green in it to go with the units, but it also worked really well with those armchairs. And actually, I haven't changed the paint colour in here. This was something that Lucy did. She is an artist. And these were special mixes of her paint colour. Very little, apart from the blinds and other bits and pieces, I've changed in here because I loved it as it was. And then this is where we sort of all congregate. This was, again, bought from Ardingly, along with the green bureau. It gets everything heaped on it. So fruit bowl, flowers, ornaments. I just bought that the other day, that little light, which is sweet because it can get quite dark here in the evenings and it's quite nice to have some low lighting. One of the nicest things I think about the kitchen, and I think this is what actually sort of blew us away when we first walked in, or certainly blew me away. You come in and you've got this sort of incredible view outside of fields, and standing at the sink, you get that. When we first moved here, it was April and the field was full of rapeseed. So it was this blanket of bright yellow and it was glorious. It was just so lovely to look out and see that yellow for several weeks, I think it lasted. It hasn't come back again. So every year I hope it's time to be on show again, but not yet. And then we've got a little garden at the front here, which is lovely. You can watch the sunset. Lucy and Tom put in a peony and rose garden. So in the summer, when I'm here, in the evenings, I will sit with my glass of wine and look at the peonies and roses and watch the sun go down. I think my design philosophy is, number one, it should be fun. I love using lots of sort of colour and pattern. I try to avoid rules of this shouldn't go with that. I don't like rules. I think, it's all about feel and look, and then things begin to flow from that. I like mixing colours, textiles, layering. I think layered is quite a good way to describe my design aesthetic. I like having dark things in a room as well. Not everything dark, but I like having one dark thing that sort of throws something off so that it doesn't look too pristine, too perfect. Lots of flowers, low lighting, that kind of thing. Things to make it feel cosy and homely. So this was one of the first rooms that I wanted to paint. It was white before, and it's got the lovely old reclaimed floorboards, which I love. So I went for yellow, and it's by Atelier Ellis Kusadika, and it's lovely and warm and rich and cozy. And this room is actually quite a dark room anyway, so I always like with darker rooms to lean into that rather than fight it. This was one of the first things I sort of put up. I got it framed. A local guy who was selling sort of knickknacks near Midhurst. It was from the 1900s, and it was by a French, I think the 1900s, a French wallpaper designer called, I think, Paul Dumas. But I loved it so much. He had 3 rolls. I bought one and I got it framed, and I just love all the colours in that. I've got really quite a sort of eclectic mix of everything. I love needlepoint. I bought this little needlepoint cushion, stool from, again, an antique shop locally, and a sweet little nursing chair here with old, I think it's Osborne & Little fabric. I should know that again. I'm sorry if I don't. And then I've done Decor Barbar on the blinds. I don't know if you can actually see that, but it sort of works with the richness of the walls. Reading lights, I love having everywhere. This is a marriage chest. I love it. It stores a lot of sort of fabrics in here, and my obsession with blue and white pottery all here. And I've got to be very, very careful that I don't put it in too many other places around the house. Right at the back, I don't know if you can see that, is a beautiful plate, and it was part of Robert Kimes' collection that was auctioned off after he sadly died. It was bought by my husband for me as a birthday present. So it's sort of on the wall, and then everything else has been done around it. But it's lovely to have that piece in here. And Guy Goodfellow, I've done this fabric twice now. I did it in a slightly different colourway on the sofa before this, but this one in the red I brought in because I felt it worked well with the Suzani and the flame stitch. And again, it sort of works with the yellow. And then that sofa I saw in Susan Delis's house one day, and I remember sitting on it thinking it was the most comfortable thing I'd ever sat on. And she said, well, I'm selling it. And I said, I'll buy it. I bought it and thought I'll probably have to change the colour, because I think yellow on yellow, it's all going to look too much. But I put it in here and threw a textile over the back, and I'm always chopping and changing with the cushions. But actually, I think it works. And again, having the backdrop, this was another purchase from Ardingly, but having this chest here breaks up the colour between the two yellows. And then a little sort of writing desk in the corner with this lovely old leather chair that I haven't changed. I love the patina on it. It's all sort of crackled, and it's a really beautiful green colour. Kashmiri lamps. I'm obsessed with Kashmiri lamps. I've got them everywhere in the house. And again, I'm trying to sort of limit my collection of them, but I love them. They're just so pretty. And then the patterned lampshades as well, because they give out such a nice sort of light. I think I've learnt that things that shouldn't work on paper sometimes in situ do. And it's sort of trying it out and throwing things together and just trying it. It can sometimes work. I sometimes get lucky, and it's like the dark flame stitch cushions with the light cushion. Caroline and I were looking at them, and we were sort of, I was umming and ahhing because I didn't think that the sort of the prints would go together, but actually on the background of the stripe, they're great. I also love a stripe in a scheme. There's something quite sort of solid and practical and neat about it. And I think if you've got a lot of sort of other patterns and swirly things going on and movement, it's rather grounding to have the stripe. When I'm doing a scheme or looking at a room, one of the things I try to do is not make it feel overtly masculine or overtly feminine. I like to have a nice sort of balance between the two. So I'll try and sort of even that out with textiles, and that's why the flame stitch and the stripe are good against the sort of more florally sort of decorative patterns. I love bookshelves in a room, and if there was more space, or I suppose if I had less furniture and lamps everywhere, I could put some more bookshelves in. But there's something so cozy about bookshelves filled with books, and it just feels like a warm lived-in room. So it's lovely. We shut this door in the evening. I've got that lovely sort of little vista there when I sit down on the sofa, the wood burner's going, the TV's on, and a glass of wine is on that table, and my feet are on there. I don't think there's one particular place that has influenced me. When I was little, we did a stint in South Africa. Having been back a few times sort of in my 20s and teens, I suppose that might have inspired me a little bit, but I think really Argentina, when we lived in Buenos Aires, I was definitely sort of, creating a home out there. We'd go to all the flea market. It was brilliant. It was such good fun. Suddenly we were in a very sort of different space. We weren't in a sort of quintessentially English home anymore, and I thought I'm really going to sort of go for it with the sort of the Argentine look. Lots of lovely sort of textiles, colourful stripy rugs, leather, quite rich interiors, so that kind of piqued my interest. Everywhere I go, really. I love Marrakesh, Morocco. That's wonderful for colour and, again, textiles. And France as well. I love French houses and French architecture, furniture. So that, again, has played a huge part in sort of influencing my style, and then lots of sort of lovely English homes as well. So it's a really eclectic mix. Welcome to my entryway. This was one of the first areas actually that I wanted to do something to. It was white walls, as was everywhere else, and I put this fabulous Robert Kime wallpaper up that looked, to me, it looks like a sort of a tapestry almost. It's got a lovely sort of worn effect, and it's great with lots of pictures on it and mirrors and wall lights. This mirror was sourced alongside the lamp and actually a lot of what's in my house by a fabulous friend of mine called Caroline Mark, who is an interior designer as well, but has an antique shop in Tetbury, near where I used to live. And she and I are constantly sourcing together, but she helps with a lot of things for the home. I bought this for a client from an auction and then decided it was really sweet and kept it in here, again, with these two little chairs that were meant to be going off to a project, and I'm a sucker for anything with caning. And these are ebonized and they're just really pretty, but it's also informal. The rug is from the lovely Tate and Derby. The colours worked well with the sort of the terracotta flooring. And then this, I love. This was an old bit of paisley that I had hanging around because of my love of textiles, and just made it into a door curtain, so it's nice in the sort of winter months. Adds a bit of warmth. Knickknacks that I've picked up from Petworth Antiques Market, Tetbury, all over, some more antique textiles on cushions. This I actually bought from a friend who is another interior designer called Lisa Burders, who's lovely, and she was selling it and it needed a bit of work on it, but I said I'm having it, and I think it looks quite nice in the window, quite welcoming. Again, probably should have put it in a project, but couldn't bear to part with it. And then pictures on the wall. I love this artist. He's called Lars Norman, and I've dotted quite a few of his paintings around the house. But again, I love the colours on this one with the curtain and the blind. And there's another one of his here, and I think the colour again, it just sort of draws me in. It's lovely and rich. Welly boots, guitars, umbrellas, trainers, summer bags. Everything else is thrown in here. It's not a big space, but we make it fit. One of the beauties of why I particularly loved it was actually Lucy, who owned it before us, Lucy Dickens. She had done the house up. So they'd put down all these fabulous reclaimed wooden floorboards. The walls were white everywhere, which was lovely. It was lovely and neutral. She had all her art hanging everywhere, and the bathroom fittings, the radiators, all those sort of things that, you know, I do for my job and have to think about for my job. I didn't have to think about with this house. It was just lovely to arrive here and think, I just have to literally put my stuff in. Over time, that's changed, and I've become a little bit braver with painting rooms and things like that. But yeah, that was it, sort of in a nutshell at the beginning. This is my study at home, and it's great. It's sort of at the back of the house. I can shut the door, lock myself away in here when I'm here. This is the sweetest little chair. I think it started off its life in there actually, but covered in this lovely sort of crewel work. And it's very sweet as you sort of look in. This was the second room I painted, Atelier Ellis again, because I just love their colours. And this is a colour called Stilling, and it's dark. This room faces east and it gets morning sun, but not a lot after that. This Pierre Frey blind Limonacq, I just love all the Limonacq and Braconnet collections. It's just full of colour. Here is where I sit, if I'm lucky, with a cup of tea, Nice lighting. I love these sort of reading lights. I think they're so practical and they also look really lovely in a corner. And a picture by one of my favourite artists called Kate Corbett-Winder. And I've got another one right here. I am making a gallery wall at the minute and it's taken centre space. I just need to put the last one. I think this my granny did that, which is so sweet, a needlepoint. So I think I'm going to put that there. And then this was bought from an antique shop in Tetbury. I love it. It's all original, the paintwork, and I haven't changed it. And then you can see, I am collecting loads of fabrics. I'm dreaming of doing a fabric collection one day. So I've been sort of buying lots of different fabrics and things for inspiration, and they all just sit there. And then my desk here, but it's nice. I've got a nice view of the garden if I want to go that way, and the gallery wall when it's finished. Most of the time, the people I'm working with would say I collaborate with them. I hope I do. It's their house at the end of the day, and I never want to be too dictatorial about what they should and shouldn't have in their house. I like to gently guide, and I will be firm if I don't believe something is right. But a lot of my projects and a lot of the really successful ones are where I'm sort of collaborating with clients, or they've got, a certain idea in their head, and a lot of people do, about a certain colour in a room or a textile they've seen, or if they want something for a curtain, and then it sort of builds from there. There are very few people who come to me and say, you do it all, which I don't mind, but most of the time, or a lot of the time, there's quite a lot of sort of input from the clients, hand-holding by us and my lovely team of girls, directing when they don't know quite what the answer is, and we will absolutely sort of provide mood boards and schemes and suggestions. But I'd say a lot of the time, people I'm working with, are collaborating with me. They're feeding me ideas, and I'm then going off and developing that. This is my bedroom. We did have some wallpaper up here that was fabulous and I loved it. But one of the downsides, I think, of being a decorator is that you're constantly sort of seeing new things and getting distracted by other things and new things that come along. And I loved the wallpaper, but wanted to have a break and wanted the room just to feel very sort of calm and neutral. Caroline had sourced me these beautiful antique crewelwork panels that she made into curtains. So I kind of wanted them to be the sort of the leading lady of the room. They're over there as well. And then rug by Caroline as well. And again, it's that ethos that I was sort of talking about downstairs, where throwing in something dark. The rest of the room is very light. It's all very light apart from the flooring, but it needed grounding. It needed something to sort of centre it. Otherwise it feels very light and pretty and fussy. So we found this rug, and yeah, I love it. It's great. The colours are good. Headboard is one of my favourite fabric designers, Nicole Farb. She's amazing, and again, it's a stripe. I just love stripes, and I've actually done the bench at the end of the bed that was made for me in the same fabric, and then these Volga linen cushions, which I love. They're so pretty. And then this antique eiderdown, which again, it should probably be a little bit bigger, but I love it so much, I'm just keeping it on. And now the nights are getting a bit colder. It's really cozy, actually, sleeping under that. Wall lights, old ones by Vaughan, and then one of my favourite things in the whole house, this set of Kashmiri lamps that we put with some Penny Morrison fabric for the shades. Because of sort of lack of storage in this room as well, I've done bedside tables that double up as chest of drawers for storage, and I love this painting. That was another one I got from Julia. I walked in one day and saw it and just thought she was so fabulous. So she's yet to be hung, but she sits there by me. Yeah, it's my little corner. I've got things in here which I should be getting rid of. This sweet little sort of dressing table stool, and I haven't even changed the fabric. I love it. It's all ripped, but I can't bring myself to change it at the minute. I just think it's so pretty. And then round here is the dressing area. This is a late addition to the bedroom. I went to see Susan DeLis the other day to look at some new fabric samples she wanted to show me. She just a shoot of her sort of furniture and new fabric collection. And I saw this sweet little slipper chair, and I love slipper chairs in bedrooms because they're a really good sort of height. It's great for flinging clothes on, sitting down, putting shoes on and off. And I said to her that I would love it. And this is one of her new fabrics, which is great. And then this cushion was a gift from another interior decorator friend, Carlos Garcia, who I love. And I love all his work and his fabrics and wallpapers. He's so clever. He gifted me that cushion. It might have been last Christmas. And I think it looks really sweet on the chair in the corner there. So it's nice. I can see that from where I am in bed. Designing for myself is actually harder in a lot of ways. I've got this lovely friend called Julia Collins, who's got a company called Collins and Green Art. Basically, she laughed at me the other day and said, I really hope you're not like this with your clients, because I've been trying to find something to go in the kitchen for probably about a year now with her. And I put it up and then I keep changing my mind and it's not quite right. And I think doing your own home is really hard because you're so close to it. You can't be subjective with it. It's really, really difficult. Walking into someone else's house is, it's lovely because you can sort of, you're standing back and you're not living there day to day. I think doing your own home always takes longer, but that's fun as well. You can change it up a lot more, which frustrates my family hugely. I am always changing things and buying things, but then selling them or putting them in a project. So the process is a lot more drawn out with me. It's sort of ongoing. Whereas I think, normally with projects and with clients, you've got a start date, there's typically an end date, and it's a lot more sort of not formulaic, but more ordered, I'd say. I think what draws me to different prints, if I look around this room, nearly everything, there's hardly any plain fabrics, that sofa. But I suppose it's the colour, the craftsmanship. These are sort of like an old Ottoman textile on this, like the sort of the needlepoint and the way it's all been done. I just find it really sort of intricate and appealing. You've got this lovely old Suzani here on the Ottoman, which is just so rich, and you would think it might sort of dominate the room, but actually by adding lots of sort of different sort of textiles in, it kind of, I hope, works. We've got the darker sort of flame stitch here, which I've put a sort of lighter cushion against, which actually on paper I probably wouldn't have done. But again, it's that sort of breaking the rules thing. Do they work together? I do a lot by eye. I think I hope it kind of works. This is my eldest son Archie's bedroom. He is 17, I can't believe it, and is in his final year at school studying for his A-levels and learning to drive. And it's the sweetest room. He loves it. He's always liked quite small sort of cocooning rooms. I was desperate, and still am, to put some curtains up here, so to give another feeling of sort of coziness and being snuggled away from the world, but he likes it just as it is. But it feels like a cabin, this room. And this is a king size, a UK king size bed, because he wriggles around and at night and stuff, so he needed space. But that's an old bit. That was a long time ago now. I recovered that headboard in Peter Dunham textiles, and then old Vaughan wall lights there that I put in. And I bought that, I think, from an antique shop in Tetbury. And again, I love that sort of rich yellow colour. It looks lovely with the flooring. I was under strict instructions from Archie. He didn't want any sort of pattern or colour on the rug. So we've gone for something very, very sort of simple in here that works well with the wooden floorboards, which are lovely. And he's got this sweet little corner for a chair just to sit down. And that stag was shot by his great-great-grandfather in Scotland. And he he is displaying his cap collection on there. But this room's got the nicest, I think it's got one of the nicest views actually out. Okay, and now we'll head into the boys' bathroom. So, boys' bathroom, which I think at one point was a bedroom before we moved here. Everything, again, stayed the same. It was white with the floorboards that I love, but I put in this lovely Chelsea Textiles wallpaper, which just adds a little bit of depth to the room. Then I have decorated it with lots of, well, a mirror here, and then pictures that I've collected. That one came from a holiday in Marrakesh with my mum. I love these ones as well, these prints here. They look really good against the wallpaper. He's definitely from Marrakesh. I remember getting him these sweet little bobbin shelves. I love putting these in bathrooms. I think they're really lovely. They just sort of can be decorated with knickknacks and useful objects as well. But I've got a collection of things on here from sort of some pottery that I like, to some flowers Felix made for me when he was 5, to a lovely Hugo Guinness print that was very kindly gifted to me by a lovely lady I was shooting with one day. Yeah, you've got the rush chair, which I love. I love the rush chair because I feel it looks lovely against the wallpaper. It's nice and natural. And then Robert Kime fabric on the blinds, which we thought looked nice with the Chelsea Textiles wallpaper. Needless to say, I don't think they know any of or understand any of this. They're just boys functioning in a bathroom. But yeah, I wanted to try and make it as pretty as I could without it feeling too sort of girly or too feminine. Everything was sort of done how I would want it done, or didn't want to change it. But yeah, it's a nice bathroom for them. They're lucky. This is the upstairs corridor. We've got the lovely floorboards, the white walls, and Pride of Place is one of Lucy's paintings. So you see it as you're coming up the stairs. And I just thought it was really lovely. These colours really remind me of her and the house, really. They're warm and sort of autumnal colours, I guess. But I thought it was really fun to have one of her pieces of art in the house for us to remember the previous owners by. And then other artwork that I've collected, again, is my usual kind of haul of antiques markets. I love mirrors. I can't stop buying little mirrors. And then this was from Julia, the Collins and Green art place. And actually her showroom, her sort of studio is very, very near my studio in London. So I'm often popping in and seeing what she's got, and every wall is covered with paintings and all different types. This is a French artist, and I was drawn to it because of the colour. I just sort of am drawn to things that I like, and I don't think there's any rhyme or reason a lot of the time, but this one I really loved. When we moved here, we wanted somewhere where obviously people could come and stay, and this was part of the garage within the barn. So we took some of the garage space and made it into a sweet little bedroom with an ensuite shower. I've used some reclaimed tiles in there that a client, we bought a bunch for her project, and she very kindly didn't need all of them. So I took an extra few and put them in there. And then Chelsea Textiles on the headboards, sweet little lights with some Robert Kime fabric, and one of my favourite designers, Name Same. I bought this fabric for the blind in here, and it's Loot by Edward Bulmer on the walls, so it's another yellow. But it's just very nice and cosy, and it's separate from the house, which guests and us like. The reason we came back here, we'd been in London, we'd moved out to West Sussex when the boys were very little. We'd done 4 years in the Cotswolds, and that's where I do a lot of work still. And I've got to know the Cotswolds really, really well, and I adore it there. It's sort of spiritually, I'd say, my home. I think why we were drawn back here was it was closer to family, it was closer to London and to work. I set up a studio in London as a sort of workspace about 18 months ago, and I'm there quite a bit, and it felt just sort of easier all round. And we were also looking at schools for the boys, and a couple of local ones were brilliant and that we thought would sort of suit them quite well. But I knew that I wanted to be somewhere sort of, I suppose, quintessentially English, where it was very green, lots of views, the dogs, where we could take dogs on walks, a nice village sort of community. I think there was a variety of reasons and boxes that sort of needed ticking for where we were going to sort of end up, but never say never as well. I think I'm slightly nomadic, and probably I don't think this will be our last house, even though I love it. Home means, I guess, warmth, fires, dogs, relaxing, quiet. It's sort of respite, I suppose, from my work, which I love, but I drive a lot all over the countryside for projects and clients, and with the studio being in London as well, that's added another dynamic in. So there's something really lovely about coming back here and the house giving you that sort of hug and the good energy around you, sinking down onto this sofa in the evenings with a glass of wine and watching TV and just being able to put my feet up and relax.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.